I gave up everything to take care of my husband with cancer. And after recovery, he said our relationship was over. Then I realized how awesome he was. It's been 6 months since my 21F husband 21M had a stem cell transplant. This was done in conjunction with chemotherapy to help improve his quality of life. If the chemo worked as a treatment, he had metastatic brain cancer in his bones, and his chances weren't good. He still has to worry about the cancer coming back in the future, but the treatment did work, and now he's back to a normal life. Except that, nothing has been normal. He's been depressed ever since he got home from the transplant. I've tried talking to him about it and showing my support. I talked to his family, basically just telling them he's feeling burned out and asking if they could reach out more. I've tried to handle a lot of my own struggles on my own. I have clinical depression, and now I'm recovering from pushing that aside to be his caregiver for 2 years. I'm in counseling, and I still work full-time. This past week, he told me he's been thinking about it for a few weeks, and he doesn't think he can do this anymore, this being our marriage. He says I always take my anger out on him, and the past year has been all about me. I took a few deep breaths, and then told him that's hard to believe, since in the past year all I've done is work, and use all my vacation days on being there for his treatments. This summer, we spent all of our extra money on him getting his dream motorcycle and all the accessories to go with it. We had planned on me getting one too, but it ended up being too expensive, so we agreed on him doing the motorcycle course and getting a bike himself. I've been focused on my therapy and healing. I've been going to work every day. I was also basically ghosted by my best friend after she got married this summer. I've had repressed memories and childhood traumas come up in the last month that I've been working through basically on my own. My husband knows, but we've had a total of 2 conversations about it, and when I try to bring it up, he makes the conversation about something unrelated. I said I wanted to go to marriage counseling since he's been refusing to see his own therapist or counselor for the last 3 years. He finally got himself a counselor instead, and I feel like it's too late for that. After he told me this week he thought our relationship was over, I snapped. I told him if he was giving up, then I wasn't going to shut up about the pain I'm dealing with anymore. I am always forced to be quiet to listen to him talk about what he's going through, and I've done it happily for our entire marriage. And to hear him say those things felt like the ultimate betrayal. Now he wants to take it back. He says he never should have said that, and he wants me to give him time to work with his counselor and heal. But I still think the problem isn't addressed. He thinks the last year has been about me, when our entire marriage has been about him. And he never acknowledged that. He refuses to talk about his treatment and the things we were together for, but he makes jokes about his own funeral, even though it makes me cry. Does anyone have advice? Or questions are welcome. I think he's given up, and Snow says that he's verbalized it. Part of me just wants to be done. Update. Here's the skinny. My 21F husband 21M had 2 years of intense treatment for cancer. He went into remission after a stem cell transplant this past spring. Ever since, he's been negligent of my feelings and our relationship. He rarely wants to do anything I want to do, and there's always a reason why we can't at the time, but he'll never consider it again after he's said no. And this is about stupid things like going to the zoo or going out late on a weeknight. He won't spend any extra money on me, even to get a lamp to go over my vanity or new clothes, when I've hardly shopped since we got married. I make my own money, but he does all the budgeting. When he was in treatment, we developed a system where I'd send him what he needed to pay the bills. He'd send my money back to me if there was anything extra. When we moved in the spring, our rent went up, so he said we had to cut our spending money. He told me to just keep $100 every month and send him the rest. I don't. I always say there's a few extra things I need to keep money for and hang on to a bit. But I still end up with very little in my account, and I always told him that I wasn't okay with doing that for more than a month or 2, while we figured out our finances. I'm not comfortable just sending all my money to him to handle. But ever since, it's been reason after reason why we haven't been able to merge our accounts. He said a few times that he understands why I want a joint account. But he doesn't see the difference since he's my husband, and I can trust him with it. He knows my parents are really bad with money, and they never taught me to manage money. Sometimes he hints at that when I talk about wanting to share in our finances, but I had more savings than my husband ever did. I owned my own car before he even had one, and then his dad paid for half of it. I paid for our wedding. It was small, but still nice and cost about $8,000. While we were engaged, he bought a pickup that died before our wedding. He spent his savings paying the rest of the loan on it, about $10,000. I paid first and last for our apartment and covered rent while he couldn't find a job. This is after I got him a job at the pizzeria I'd been at for 6 months. He got us both fired. He always says they were shady anyway, which is true, but not the point. After my original post, I told him I wanted to set up a mutual fund, so we can at least have our cash and bills come from the same place. He just asked me to move the appointment with the bank, then a few minutes later came out with a plan he and his brother made for us to get a joint checking account. I said that's not a mutual fund, and I want to do what we already planned. At this point, the red flags are off the map. We've talked, and he explains and explains, but things never get better for me. I can't focus on myself at all because I'm basically babysitting a grown man. I have so much healing to do, and I wanted to do it together, but he's not letting it happen. I think it should be over, but part of me wants to keep fighting for it. After everything, I just want us to work so badly. Could this possibly be salvageable? If not, how do I pick myself up enough to face that fact? Edit. I got stoned 22 hours into replying to comments, so that's why I'm chatty. Thanks so much to everyone who's helping me think through this. Tonight, I canceled our 2022 trip to Mexico. I think it's time I leave this relationship, and again, thank you so much to everyone who helped me realize that. I plan to update in a few days. I'll probably still need advice, and I'll let you know how it's going. Update. I'll link my original posts at the bottom, and I think this one will be long enough, so I'm not really going to summarize. I'm writing this from a relative's house. I told my husband that I wanted to separate nearly 2 weeks ago, then left the apartment on Monday. I feel like I've changed so much since my original posts, and a part of that is thanks to all the commenters here on Reddit. I really appreciate everyone who shared their insights and experiences. I have realized that my ex has a serious dependency on me. I don't think he realizes this, but he's been talking a lot about the childhood trauma he has surrounding his mom, who he cut out of his life. In my previous post, I mentioned how he told me that he thought our marriage was over. There were other things he said at the time that were really hurtful too. Now he tells me he said those things in a moment of misdirected anger. He was angry about his mom and took it out on me. He's been really nice the last few weeks, but there's also been some interactions where he's just been arseholish. It's been downright disappointing, the way he reacts to me asking for help with things. I feel like he's maybe put a lot more thought into how he acts, but it's still so self-centered that he's not actually doing anything to help me. He asks me questions, but never has much to say. Until today, when he asked if I had thought about how he's felt going through cancer, and if I meant my vows, and how was I just going to give up on us when he never has. NGL guilt tripping has always been a boundary I've tried to maintain in our relationship. He doesn't do this. I was pretty done after that. I already told him I would likely want to get divorced once we've been separated for a year for legal reasons. I told him I thought we should have entirely separate lives with no commitment to each other. I said we could still talk if it was good for us. But after the fact that he came into the phone call with those questions written down ahead of time, he told me he always fixes things and makes them right after he messes up. And he's fixed his problems in the last month. That's why he's had 2 counseling sessions and got advice from 2 older brothers. I am so done. Like hurt, betrayed, turned off. I just want this to be over. I just know he's going to keep hurting me, and I'm not letting it happen anymore. I took my rings off for good this morning. I don't think I can regret our marriage, but I won't regret walking away from it either. I feel terrible sometimes because I know the things he's been through. And because I wish I could have stayed married to my first love, and I hate that he's going through this too. But we've both been through so much. I think the difference is that I wanted to get through those things together, and he decided to go silent for most of our marriage. In the process, I got pushed away, hurt, and honestly felt a bit taken advantage of. I realize that right now, he's someone who's going to continue to push me away and freeze me out. He wants another chance after burning chances for 6 months, and I'm not that ashamed to admit. I can't do it. I won't, not after everything. This man took my love and life and looked the other way while I paid for it. I hope he sees it. And I hope he really heals and fixes his problems. I can't be there for it though, and he chose that even indirectly. I'm in limbo now, just starting to figure out what the next few weeks will look like. Dear Reddit, please help me by sharing your knowledge, wisdom, and experience. I do have good support close to me, but I think we all know the unique value of relationship advice. And I'm not admitting it much, but I'm sad and scared. The last 2 posts made me feel less alone. Update. First of all, I need to say that I am still so grateful that I left. I think that as I update, you'll see why. I think things could be going a lot worse, but I'm also having some serious issues here. My ex is still in our apartment. We have a 1-year lease that's up in March, but he's decided that he'll move out in February. My grandma lives 10 minutes away, so I'm spending most of my time in her spare room, including most nights. But I don't really want to say I've moved out in case he decides to come after me legally. I'm afraid it would be bad for my side if I leave first. For the first few days of our separation, He was nice. He wanted to grab burgers together and talk about how things were going to go. We agreed we wanted to stay peaceful and in occasional contact. He said he's sorry he hurt me, but he understands why we need to separate. I think he was lying because 2 nights later he wanted to call me. He said he wanted to talk about things, so I said he could call me if he wanted. But I reminded him that we have a planned day to talk through our separation, assets, and everything. So I didn't really want to talk about any of that until then. It turns out it was an interrogation. I mentioned it in my last post, saying he asked if I had meant our vows. And I said, yeah, I wrote them, or don't you remember? Sidetrack. I have a video of that actually. We were sitting in my car, and we were going to write our vows together. He played Clash Royale, ignored me when I read them, and asked how they sounded. Then read them in a really obnoxious way. It's literally on camera because I was trying to record what I wanted to be a special moment. I was pissed, and he apologized and tried to make it up to me. But I'm in hindsight. I feel like that story adds some context. It's hard to share stories about our early relationship because, at that time, I had no idea what love looked like. Or a healthy relationship. I'd never been treated particularly well by any role models in my life. My heart hurts because I can't blame 17-year-old me for wanting a stable relationship, where, if I got hurt, at least he apologized. The bar was so low, and if I had met him now, I don't think I would have talked to him for more than 5 minutes. It sucks to say, but it's honestly true. I don't hate him, but I don't like him at all anymore. I just want this nightmare to be over. Okay, back on track. Yesterday, I came back to split up some of our belongings. He's been staying in our apartment, but I want to be there while he packs things to make sure he doesn't take my SHD. So last night was awful. He tried to take a bunch of my collection of books. He took my beanbag chair, coffee table, and one of my bookshelves. For everything I want to keep, he needs to know what he gets for it. I called him out on the complete 180. He went from wanting to stay close to me and all understanding to demanding, cold, and rude. He asked why I was saying this. Why did it matter? We're not married anymore. I guess I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. It's like the last few years don't even matter. The apology that he claimed was so sincere last week that he laughs when I ask about it now. He's mad because he thinks that he deserves for me to stay, because he thinks he's put in the work in the last month. Here's the truth about the last month that we were together. He complained about work constantly. He took his days off for COVID and lost even more pay than I did. I saw a counselor twice, and I am convinced they figured out all his problems. I ignored the mental health crisis that I've been in, literally reaching out to family, friends, and doctors for help, because I recalled a depressed childhood memory of sexual abuse. This started in October. He barely even checked on how I was doing with that and did absolutely nothing to help. When I told him the memory had created new triggers for me around sex, literally, please don't hold my legs down, he proceeded to do exactly that the next 2 times he tried to have sex with me. It sent me into a panic attack for real, and I had to stop. There was one more time he tried to have sex with me, and I actually just felt so tense and scared that I stopped him and said I didn't feel like it. I was scared of getting triggered again. And that's the end of that, because I kicked him out of bed a few days later. I really hope that one day he looks back on this and regrets what he did. You'd think that, since I'm splitting up with him for how badly he hurt me, he'd try not to do it anymore. But I think part of him is enjoying punishing me for leaving. He ignored my needs, acted like an entitled arsehole, triggered and arsed me, and now he's mad because I was supposed to stay forever. It's crazy how much I now dislike someone that I used to think I would love forever. Financial Oz update. Because you asked. The reason it took like a month for us to separate was because I was getting my finances in order. I had to take my time because I didn't want to alarm him. A lot of Redditors warned me to do this, and I agreed that I needed to be careful about how I handled separating our finances. But I'm a wizard, and he was happy to hand me all the information because I'm getting my life together for the new year. I got all the passwords to our accounts and told him how it was going to be moving forward. I'll pay my bills. We'll split mutual bills 50-50. That's the way it should have been the whole time. There were also 2 bills that had overdue charges from the last period, totaling around $100. And I made him pay for that himself. We had COVID over the holidays, so that was a setback. It was the worst cold or flu I ever had. But it's not like I almost unalive. Get vaxxed if you can, guys, for all I know. That's what kept me out of the IQ. Then I really had to focus on work for a week to catch up and have my performance review. I got a raise, but it's actually been very hard at work. I'm being all but denied a promotion, blatantly because I'm a woman. It's a complicated situation, but I think I'm going to be leaving another relationship soon and hopefully finding a new company to work for. Finally, I went to see my parents and my siblings. I have 3 sisters who I am really close to. I told them about what was happening. They knew some of it, but I hadn't told them I was going to leave him. It's hard for them because they love me and because they're hardcore Christians. Divorce is a difficult thing to accept, but they all support me and have my back 100%. My whole family has my back so far, so I feel safe. I feel sure of my decision. I'm scared a lot though, and it's been really hard splitting our stuff up, and he's literally trying to take my Fing book collection. But I'm strong, and he's a pussycat who, in his own words, wouldn't have even fought cancer if it wasn't for me. Plus, I have Reddit, where I just got a bunch of new followers and people who are giving kind words, giving advice, and sharing their stories. Guys, this is amazing. Someone who gave me an award for my last post. I have hardly gotten an award anything ever. Also said that my story helped them learn something in their relationship. I was raised religious, and I'm not anymore, but because of it, I just see community as magical. I'm eternally grateful, even to that one arsehole that I was trolling on my last post, because he was pretty funny, and I need reasons to laugh these days. I'm going to keep updating. At this point, I feel like I don't really care if someone who knows me finds this. I'm sure they have their own reasons why they're on Reddit looking for relationship advice. Let's connect HMU. I'm being real here, and it's part of getting free. Update. This is the most recent update. I've already posted a few times in this subreddit. I've gotten so much support and great advice, and I was just waiting for the day to be able to come back and say this. Reddit, you're going to be so proud of me. I've been living back in my own home since February. I spent January crashing at my grandma's, but my ex trashed our place while I was gone, so I had no choice but to move back in. February was hell, as far as my home life was concerned. My ex and I lived in the same apartment at the same time, and he was a spiteful bee who I had to avoid. But I've had other really exciting things happening for me, and this past Monday he finally packed up and left, so moving on. I got a new job. It's a huge step up from my sad little inside sales position at a SHT show manufacturer. I'm going downtown and taking a train to work, and I actually get to work from home sometimes too. I'll make more, actually meet people, and finally have a chance to grow my career. My ex was never supportive of that. He wouldn't tell me not to find a new job, but he would also remind me of my steady paycheck and job security every time I started updating my resume. While I was crashing at my grandma's, I applied to something like 200 job postings. I took at least a dozen interviews. I met so many people and learned about so many companies and industries in the corporate world. It's been so much fun, and I'm so thrilled to be able to push my career forward with this new opportunity. If you follow my posts, you'll know I also went for a rebound, a super hot professional athlete. I was a virgin when I got engaged to my ex, so this girl has been exploring her sexuality. As it turns out, he was not good in bed. I can't really blame him because I was his first, but I was missing out. Especially towards the end of our marriage, he lost all interest in trying anything fun or new. He rarely did anything for me unless I asked. I have quite a SX drive. This isn't new about me, and it hasn't changed. I like intimacy, but I rarely wanted to have SX the last few months of our marriage because it was boring and just worked for me. It felt so impersonal, like he just wanted to get off, and it had nothing to do with me. I have a few triggers that he's aware of. The last few times we had SX, he triggered me. It seemed intentional, which is so fed up really badly, to the point where I was crying and had to stop. And he would try to keep going instead of comforting me. After that, and the fact that I already had sexual trauma, I was genuinely concerned that I was going to become scared of having SX, or intimacy, or letting people touch me. So I knew I needed to get out there, even if it was just to learn more about myself and what makes me happy and comfortable. So I fed a retired pro athlete. He's retired at 26, so it's not like he's old or anything. I met him on Tinder, and he's a CEO, so that's pretty hot. I've had a few other experiences since then, and it hasn't all been positive, but it's been so fun, and I feel really empowered. I'm keeping my triggers in mind and just trying to figure out how I like to have SX and who I like, and also what I don't like. Now, moving to the downtown scene. Well, I already crossed pro athletes off the bucket list, so I was thinking a celebrity would be fun. Most of the time, I'm not actually planning to sleep with a bunch of guys, just a few. I'm enjoying settling into my home. I put up a poster with Audrey Hepburn and Marilyn Monroe on it, which my ex would have refused to look at. I set up a home office in the spare room and pulled back out my keyboard. I'm going to focus on my job and healing myself, which is going to take time, care, and work. My ex is still hassling me, trying to get money. He's broke, so am I, but at least I know how to budget. He wants me to pay for car repairs and continue to help with the loan on a car I no longer have access to. I've learned to say no and go F yourself. The latter has not gone over well, but it feels great, and I really wish he would. By the end of March, I should be completely free of any ties to him aside from the legal divorce we'll have to wait a year to get. I just feel so light and free. My dead marriage makes me really sad, but I wasn't the one who unalived it. I was still giving the thing CPR after it was unakiv and cold. My ex pushed me out and treated me like SHT, and now he's angry and feels hurt, spited, and abandoned. In reality, he's facing the consequences of treating the only person you have left like SHT. I have no sympathy for him, only myself now. Thank you, Reddit. If it wasn't for you guys, I might have gone back to that selfish arsehole. Instead, I see my own worth. I see how hard I tried and how much I was disregarded and undervalued. It won't happen again, because now I love and value myself. I'm not perfect, but at least I'm trying, and I know it's only up from here. Thank you for watching the video.